So, one thing I've learned in almost 30 years of business is the importance of relationships. I will fly 5 hours for a 15-minute meeting with someone. You see, because relationships are the alchemy of business. And I want you to remember this, which is take care of the relationship and the money will take care of itself. And all too often right now, we forget that relationships are, whether it's with our teammates, whether it's relationships with our customers, whether it's relationships with our suppliers, are fundamentally important. Starbucks is one of our clients, as I mentioned, and there was a manager in a Starbucks who understood how powerful relationships are. How do you build a movement of 1 million people? One relationship at a time. And if this was so obvious, why do so few people in business understand how important building a relationship is? Saying please, saying thank you, looking people in the eye, under-promising, over-delivering. And this one Starbucks location had this manager who really cared about people, who was a master of building relationships. And this manager had a favorite customer named Irene. And Irene had been a school teacher, and Irene was in her 80s. And Irene used to show up at this coffee shop every morning, beautifully dressed, flawlessly attired. And every morning she'd come in with a gentleman who was also very well dressed, very elegant looking. And they'd walk up to the counter and they'd order 1 cup of coffee. They'd find a table and they'd have a conversation. Because business is a conversation. And if you lose the conversation with your team and your customers, you will lose the business. A great family life is a conversation. If you lose the conversation with your wife, your husband, your children, your brother, your sister, you'll lose the family. And a great human life is a conversation. If you're so busy being in the world that you don't take time to meditate, to pray, to write in a journal, to go for long walks by the Mediterranean, to ask yourself, who am I? What needs to improve? What do I want to stand for? How will I wish to be remembered when I'm no longer here? Then you will lose the conversation with yourself. And you will lose your sense of self. And then you will live society's life versus your life. One day, this manager noticed that Irene was no longer attending the coffee shop, and she got worried because she really cared. A few weeks later, she walked into the bank and she saw Irene, but Irene was not looking graceful. Irene was looking terrified. The manager walked up to Irene and said, Irene, what happened? Is everything okay? Irene said, no, everything's not okay. Manager said, tell me what happened. Irene said, you know, that gentleman who holds my hand and walks into the coffee shop every morning with me, she said, I didn't think I told you this, but that man was my husband. And he took a stroke and he's dead. She said, I'm all alone. I don't know what to do. I'm terrified. The manager said, why don't you come back to the coffee shop? Have a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll feel better. And Irene said, well, who would I drink the coffee with now? And the manager said, I'll drink it with you. And the two human beings in a world that has forgotten what it means to be fully human went back to the coffee shop, ordered a pastry and 2 forks, 1 cup, went to a table and had a conversation. Maya Angelou said it well. She said, people may forget what you say. People may forget what you do. No one will ever forget how you make them feel. I had a great mentor when I was in my 20s, and before he died, I actually made a good move, and I saw him and I asked him, I said, what's most important? And he said, Robin, be kind. Oh, Robin, it's so important to be kind. And then sometimes people say to me, well, if I'm kind, I'll be walked on. Well, you'll only be walked on if you let people walk on you.